Hey YouTube, my name is Christopher Moore, and today I'm going to do a walkthrough of Lighthouse version 2.0. Lighthouse is a GraphQL package for Laravel that allows you to turn your Laravel application into a GraphQL endpoint. If you've used version 1.0, version 2 really focuses on schema first, and it really reduces the amount of boilerplate needed to get a GraphQL server up and running. As we'll see later on in the video, literally, if you already have an application created, it takes just a matter of minutes to get up and running. And the way that version 2 has been built out, it's almost like a plugin system where you'll be able to extend it as much as needed to fit your data layer. So with that being said, we're going to be going through the Lighthouse example that's been updated for version 2.0. This example is kind of like a job manager. Just to quickly go through it, we have a user that's got the standard name and email, and a user has many jobs. And then inside the job model, we have a title, and it belongs to the user who's created it and has many tasks. And a task also has a title, which belongs to the job and can be completed by a user. So what we're going to do, or actually just real quick, I've checked out the pre-Lighthouse branch. So that's prior to any Lighthouse stuff being installed, which we're going to do right now with composer require new wave Lighthouse. Right, and the example also comes with database seeder, so we can fill up our database migrations. Laravel Passport's been installed for authentication, which we'll go through quickly, to get access tokens, basically to make authenticated requests. So we'll just wait for composer, and once this is done, we're going to publish our Lighthouse configuration. There it goes. The Lighthouse does have auto discovery, so really this is pretty much it. All we have to do to get started. All right, so we have our configuration, and I'll go through some of these other options in another video. But basically, down here at the bottom, we're telling Lighthouse where our schema file is registered. And with Lighthouse version 2, you can actually create your schema with GraphQL files. So if I go into routes, I'm going to look into GraphQL and schema.graphql. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to run the dbc. And you're going to want to take note of the client secret, because we're going to need that later, as well as the client ID. All right, so with our schema, we're going to start with our job type. And the job has an ID and a title. And we're just going to start with jobs for right now, and we'll get into authentication. We'll actually start creating a user as well. So we need a query to basically dive into our data, and we're going to create a jobs field, which is going to be array of jobs. All right, and this is where version 2 really is quite a bit different than version 1. It heavily relies on, number one, the schema file, and number two, directives. So this particular directive is telling Lighthouse where to go to resolve this field. So we're going to create a new class called query, and we're going to use a method called jobs. All right, so it's just basically pointing to a class and then a method. So I'm going to go ahead and create that namespace. And the query itself is just a standard class. Oops. Which needs a function called jobs. We get passed in a root, args, any of that stuff, and we're just going to return app job. So we're going to return all the jobs in the database. So I'm going to fire up the server here. Oops. There we go. Let me move this refresh. Okay, so now we have a GraphQL server running. We have a jobs field inside of our query type. We won't go into node. Node's more specific for relay. I'll get into that into a different video. But we can see here, just basically as we defined in our schema, the query jobs field returns an array of jobs, which has an ID and a title. So if I query that, as for ID and title, there we go. There's all of our jobs inside of our database. All right, so we're going to go ahead and build out the schema a bit more, and we'll say that we also have type task. Also has an ID and a title, string, and type user, which has an ID, a name, and an email. All right, and off of our job model, or sorry, job type, we say that it has a user, and this is also a Lighthouse directive. We'll say that it belongs to. So basically, this is telling Lighthouse when you resolve this field, the user field, you're going to get passed in an eloquent model and use the user relationship to fulfill this type. And we'll also go ahead and attach tasks. So that's an array of tasks, and that's the opposite. It has many. Actually, we're stuck right there. Okay, so now if I reload this, what do I do here? Has many belongs to user. Oh, I have tasks instead of tasks. There we go. Okay. So now for each job, saying I want the user and I want their name and email. So now we have that fulfilled. And for each job, I also want the tasks and the title for each task. So there you go. Each job we see here, the seeder filled in 3 different tasks for each particular job. All right. So next, we're going to do authentication. So I'm going to do a little bit of copy and paste here. In the schema, we're going to create a new type that's auth token. So Laravel Passport, when you create or send an authorization request, you get back the authentication token, which has the access token, token type expires in, and the refresh token. So we're just going to basically pass that through. I'm going to create a new type, which is going to be our mutation. And mutations usually is like how you change or update data. And we're going to create a login field. So the login has a username, password, the client ID, and the client secret, which we got when we seeded the database. And we're saying here that we have a field that points to this account mutator that we need to create. It's just, again, it's just a class that has a login method. And finally, we need the all right. And this is, again, a new directive from Lighthouse, and basically all it does is when it tries to resolve the me field, if the request has been authenticated, it's going to return the authenticated user, and if not, it just returns null, so you won't get any kind of response. All right, so let's build out this resolver. So in here we have mutations, and account mutator. And I'm, again, just going to copy and paste this code, then I'll quickly go through it. Okay. All right, so Laravel Passport creates a REST endpoint. I believe it's like OAuth / token. That's a post request. And so what we're doing here is we're creating a new request. First, we're going to get the arguments, and that's coming from the login field. So we're going to get the username, password, client ID, and client secret. And we're going to merge on the grant type, which is going to be password, and we're not going to add any scope for this. We're going to create a new request that's going to hit an endpoint that passport created, and then send off the requests. We're going to decode that, so we get basically just an array from the JSON response. And we're going to create our user. So down here, it really all it's doing is just decoding the JSON web token, and this right here is the user ID. So if it was successful, we have an access token for one, and it successfully decoded it, we were able to get the user ID off of that, and then we can just return the user by the ID. Now, finally, we're returning the auth token in the user because that is what we're returning the login payload from the login mutation. Okay. So hopefully all of that makes sense, and I'm going to create a new tab here. And we're going to send a mutation, which is going to be the login. And off of that, we're going to get our access token. And just to see that it's working, we're going to get the email address, which is C, the username, which is test@lighthouse.com. Password is secret. The client ID is 2. The client secret is down here. Class does not have a method login. Oh, yeah. Keep forgetting to save. So there we go. Okay, there's our access token. Now if I go back here, I can add it to my header, save. All right, so let's start creating some authenticated requests. So here inside the schema, I'm going to add a new, actually we'll forget this for just a second. New mutation called create job. The create job is going to just require a title, and again, directive provided by Lighthouse is validate, which you're probably familiar with if you used validation rules with Laravel. Works pretty much the same way. You can pass an array of rules, and here we're just saying that the title itself needs a minimum of 3 characters, and this create job is going to return a job. So as you can see from this, we could just create a field with a resolver and fill in a new job and pass in the user from the context. But here, we're actually going to use a little bit of a shortcut. We're going to say create model app job. And again, it requires the user ID, so I'm going to inject that from context. I'll explain that here in just a second. So we're going to get the user ID, and the name that we're going to be passing into is user ID. So if I go to a resolver here, we have, whenever you have a resolve function, you get the root, the array of arguments, and the context. If you create your own, let's see, your own controller, you can create your own context and pass it in when GraphQL executes. But by default, Lighthouse provides, it's just a class. A context is a class with a user property and a request property. So you're going to get the authenticated user. So that if somebody's not authenticated, that would be null. And then you would get the request. So you could do something like this. Context user gives you the user, and context request gives you the request. So in here, what we're saying is, okay, off the context, get the user ID and fill in the get the user's ID and fill in an argument named user ID. So that way now we could create a job without actually creating a resolver for it. And we can protect this because this is not coming from the client, and it actually cannot be because it's not defined inside the mutation. This is coming directly off the authenticated user. And before I can do this job, I need to make user ID fillable. Okay, so comment this out. segmentation, create, refresh, create job, title, some job, and we get a job back, so I'm going to get the ID, the title, and we can go ahead and get the user, so we should see tests at lighthouse.com. There we go. So our new job has the ID in the database 31, and this is the user that was authenticated to create that job. All right, so next, let's actually fire off an event here. Oh, I'm sorry, actually we're on our user. Let's go ahead and start querying our me field. So our user has jobs, which is an array of jobs, has many. And let's comment this out. And we should see when we query me, so I'll refresh me, get the email address, we get the list of jobs, each have the ID and the title. And there's a new job that we created. All right, so quickly, let me just go over an option here. Let's just say, for example, that a user can have like 1,000 jobs, so it's not smart for us to just grab an array of every single job that belongs to the user. What we can do is we can put a type on here, paginator, and this is going to return a Laravel paginator instead of just an array. So refresh this. This is red now because we're getting something different. And if I look in GraphQL, we can see that instead of an array of jobs, now we're getting this user job paginator type instead. So we're required at accounts, so that's like basically how many jobs we want returned to us. We can say, just give me the first 2. And so inside this object, now we have paginator info, and I can say, let me see how many total jobs I have. And then we see if I have more pages, and the array is called data. And now I can get the ID title off of that. So here it's telling me, okay, you have a total of 4 jobs. You do have additional pages, and here are the first 2 jobs. So now I can paginate through and say, okay, go to page 2. Now we have no more additional pages, and here's the next 2 jobs that we have created. You can also, I believe, relay if you're using a relay connection. So here now we have it switched over to user job connection, and we have what that requires, which is the first and the after. And the page info is returned instead. I did add a couple additional fields here since we had access to them, but you could easily switch that to relay as well. Okay, so switch that back, paginator. And actually, let's see, let's just add one more here. So we'll add an event. So again, this is a directive, and the event directive is basically what it does. It'll fire off an event using whatever's been returned from the mutation. So we're going to create a new one called app events job created. And let's go into the event service event. I can spell. Okay, and say job created, and we're going to say log new job, and we'll use Laravel to generate those, and we're going to get the job that was created. Say this job, and we'll make that just for this. We'll make it public. So this is also that job, right? And then inside of our listener, we can use a shortcut provided by Laravel. So we'll say new GraphQL job, say the event, the job to array. Okay, so what we're doing here, again, we're keeping the mutation itself just the same, but we're just appending an event that needs to be fired, which is the class app events job created. And if it works inside of our storage logs, we should get the new Laravel log. So switch back to graphical here. This, that, and I'll just refresh on the safe side. Yep. Save. To array on mouse. Let's see what we do here. Oh, yeah, we did pass it this. Yeah, wow. this job equals job. All right, let's try it again. There we go. Yeah, I'm going to have this nice big arrow up at the top, but here's our log right here. All right, so that pretty much wraps it up. As you can see, like, we don't have a lot of additional code that was required to get a GraphQL server up and running. It mostly relied on the schema itself. And actually, just one more thing real quick. You can do something like this. That can be helpful when things start to get really big. So we called it count GraphQL. So we'll stuff that inside here, and we'll take this out. So what I like to do is just everything that's kind of related to one another, I'll put it inside of its own file so we can extend type mutation and put our login query here. So that way you could do something like, everything revolves around a task. You can put that inside a task GraphQL file, save for job, the user, and really kind of clean up your files and organize them a little bit better. And if I refresh, we'll see that we still have the login mutation here. And to do that, you just need to do pound import and then just point it to what file you want to import. And you can import as many as needed. Again, so yeah, that's it. I'm pretty excited about version 2.0. I'm probably even more excited to see what everybody does with the directives, and hopefully we get some PRs back that can expand the functionality of Lighthouse and make it even easier and faster to get up and running with the GraphQL server and Laravel. If you have any questions, just leave a comment or create a PR. So here is the repository, and here is the documentation. In the documentation, it's a work in progress right now, so I apologize for that, but I am working on it probably each afternoon, hopefully. Yeah, actually, you can see it still says Gatsby default starter. Yeah, I'll be continuously working on this, but if you have any questions, just fill out an issue, and yeah, or post a comment here on the video, and I'll try to get back to you as quickly as I can. And I'll try to create a couple more videos where we walk through some of these resolvers, like how this has many works. It has its own functionality that gets pagination off of a collection. So I'll dive into that and some more advanced topics as well. All right, but that's it. Thank you.